doing a show about greatness and it's about football, well, guess what? You can't do it without Tom Brady, the greatest of all time.
And Brady gonna go deep. Edelman.
Think about the absolute sheer impossibility of what Tom Brady accomplished on a football field. We're talking about a man who hoisted the Lombardi Trophy 7 different times. Just let that statistic sink in for a moment.
Because Brady, I always tell my friends, never pick against Brady. Ask anybody who knows me, don't pick against Brady, you're never out of it.
Throughout his legendary 2-decade career, he played in a staggering 10 Super Bowls. To put that into perspective, that is more Super Bowl appearances than 28 entire NFL franchises have managed in their entire organizational histories.
I didn't care who I was playing against, Tom Brady, the GOAT of all GOATs.
And if you want a statistic that truly breaks the brain, in his 21 seasons as a full-time starter, Tom Brady reached the Super Bowl 48% of the time. Statistically speaking, Tom Brady was more likely to make the Super Bowl than Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter in NBA history, is to make a three-pointer. He completely redefined what we thought was humanly possible for an athlete's physical and mental prime. By the time he retired, he had essentially stacked 3 separate Hall of Fame careers on top of each other. In his 20 seconds, 21,000 passing yards, 147 touchdowns, and 3 Super Bowl rings. In his 30 seconds, 40,000 passing yards, 309 touchdowns, and 2 Super Bowl rings. In his 40s, 27,000 passing yards, 193 touchdowns, and 2 Super Bowl rings. Just to be clear, Tom Brady threw more touchdown passes in his 40s than Dallas Cowboys legend Troy Aikman threw in his entire Hall of Fame career. When the lights were the brightest, when the pressure was at its absolute highest and everyone else on the field was suffocating under the weight of the moment, Brady always delivered. But here is the crazy, almost unbelievable part of this story. Despite this untouchable, mythical resume, for much of his career, Tom Brady had more haters than perhaps any player in American sports history. For years, the narrative swirled endlessly. Analysts claimed he was nothing more than a product of the New England Patriots system. Critics on sports radio constantly wrote him off as a check-down merchant who was being carried by an elite defense. Rival fans couldn't stand the seemingly endless controversial calls that always seemed to bounce his way, or the massive, league-shaking scandals that Brady and the Patriots constantly found themselves embroiled in. So, looking past the noise, the headlines, and the rings, how good was Tom Brady actually? Stripped of the system, the coach, and the drama, is he really the greatest of all time? To find the truth, we have to rewind the clock and go back to a time when absolutely no one believed in him.
Move that body, don't stop now. Hands up high, let it drop now. Move that body, don't stop now. Just tonight, we forget now. Girls with drinks at the bar, lights go low, see who you are. Move that body.
To truly understand the relentless psychotic drive of Tom Brady, we have to go back to Junipero Serra High School in San Mateo, California, in the early 1990s.
What do you think makes a good ball player?
This is where the story almost ended before it even began, because back then, Brady almost gave up on football entirely. See, Tom wasn't born a football prodigy. He was actually a standout baseball player first, a highly touted, left-handed power hitter with an absolute cannon for a right arm. His coaches marveled at his throwing ability from behind the plate, noting he was one of the best catchers they had ever evaluated. But when it came to the gridiron, Brady wasn't exactly turning heads. He wasn't the guy who walked onto the field and made everyone's jaw drop with his natural athleticism. In fact, he rode the bench for his first 2 entire years at Junipero Serra. He was serving as a backup to a kid who wouldn't even go on to play college football at any level. When Brady finally got his shot to start as a junior, he still wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, and he wasn't even considered the best quarterback in his own local conference. But what he lacked in raw, God-given physical traits, he made up for with a terrifying obsession. He became completely consumed by film study. He was out there throwing a football every single day, working tirelessly with a private coach to completely reconstruct his footwork and mechanics from the ground up. He would literally host his receivers at his house every Sunday. His mom would make them sandwiches, and they would sit around analyzing game film for hours, critiquing every single misstep. That relentless work ethic eventually started to pay off. By his senior year, he put up solid numbers, throwing for over 2,100 yards and 20 touchdowns. But even then, he still wasn't a can't-miss prospect in the eyes of college recruiters. However, on the baseball diamond, he was a completely different story. Every regional baseball scout knew his name. The Montreal Expos even drafted him straight out of high school in 1995 to be their catcher. A guaranteed contract, major league money, and a completely secure future were sitting right there on the table. But Brady simply wasn't interested. Football wasn't just a sport to him anymore. It was an obsession. There was just one massive roadblock standing in his way. He didn't have a single Division I scholarship offer. UCLA turned him away at the last minute because another recruit signed first, and USC, his absolute dream school, didn't want him either. Refusing to take no for an answer, Brady physically mailed out highlight tapes to over 100 different colleges across the country. Most didn't even bother to send a rejection letter. Finally, the University of Michigan decided to take a flyer on him. But if he thought the high school bench was tough, college was about to be a completely different beast. When he arrived in Ann Arbor, he was buried at the very bottom of the roster, the 7th quarterback on the depth chart. For 2 excruciating years, he barely touched the grass. A lot of kids would have folded. They would have packed their bags and transferred. But Brady didn't run. Instead, he sought out Greg Harden, a legendary sports psychologist at Michigan. Harden completely rewired Brady's brain. He taught the young quarterback to stop worrying about the coaches, stop complaining about his lack of playing time, and focus entirely on controlling the controllables. He challenged Brady to treat his 3 practice reps a day like they were the Super Bowl. That psychological shift changed everything. By his junior year, he fought his way to the starting job. But even then, the Michigan coaches constantly rotated him with a highly recruited freshman named Drew Henson. Despite the blatant lack of trust from his own sideline, Brady delivered. His defining college moment came in the 2000 Orange Bowl against the powerhouse Alabama Crimson Tide. Trailing by 14 points twice, Brady refused to quit. He shredded the Alabama defense for 369 yards and 4 touchdowns, leading Michigan to a thrilling 35-34 overtime victory. After overcoming all of that adversity, surely the NFL scouts were lining up at his door, right? Wrong. The NFL scouts absolutely hated him. When they looked at Tom Brady at the 2000 NFL Combine, they didn't see a leader, a winner, or a tactician. They saw a physical liability. He showed up looking awkward in a baggy t-shirt and gray shorts. He ran a painfully slow 5.28 second 4.0 yard dash. His vertical jump was a measly 24.5 inches. The written scouting reports ruthlessly tore him apart. They noted his poor build, calling him skinny and lacking physical stature. They criticized his complete lack of mobility, his inability to avoid the pass rush, and claimed he couldn't drive the ball downfield or throw a tight spiral. They literally labeled him a system-type player who gets exposed if forced to ad-lib. When draft day finally arrived, it was a humiliating, agonizing experience. Brady sat in his family home and waited. 6 different quarterbacks were taken ahead of him, names like Giovanni Carmazzi and Spurgon Wynn, players that most football fans today wouldn't even recognize. Some NFL teams didn't even have Brady's name written anywhere on their draft boards. Finally, as the draft was nearing its very end, in the 6th round, with the 199th overall pick, the New England Patriots decided to take a chance on the skinny kid from Michigan. But Brady knew something the rest of the world didn't. When he first met Patriots owner Robert Kraft, carrying a pizza box under his arm, he looked the billionaire dead in the eye and boldly declared that drafting him was the best decision the organization had ever made. Despite his massive confidence, Brady's NFL reality started at the absolute bottom. He walked into training camp as the 4th-string quarterback. By the end of his rookie season, through sheer willpower and relentless film study, he had clawed his way up to the 2nd-string role. Still, nobody expected him to actually see the field. Drew Bledsoe was the undisputed face of the franchise, fresh off signing a monster 1-0-year $103 million contract. Brady was just a guy lucky to have a job holding a clipboard. Until week 2 of the 2001 season. In a split second, the entire landscape of the NFL changed forever. Bledsoe scrambled out of the pocket and took a truly brutal hit from Jets linebacker Mo Lewis. It was a strike so devastating it caused internal bleeding that nearly cost him his life. Suddenly, with their franchise quarterback fighting to recover in a hospital bed, the Patriots had absolutely no choice. It was suddenly Brady's job to step in, pick up the pieces, and take the keys to the franchise. When he first stepped onto the field, Brady wasn't doing anything that would make highlight reels. He wasn't launching 6-0-yard bombs. But what he did do was manage the game with a terrifying, robotic perfection. He protected the football, he made incredibly smart decisions, and most importantly, he found ways to win. After an 0-2 start to the season, the Patriots rallied to go 11-3 with Brady under center. But as the playoffs loomed, a massive controversy erupted. Drew Bledsoe was finally healthy again. But in a move that would alter the course of sports history, head coach Bill Belichick made the incredibly bold decision to ignore the massive contract and stick with the hot hand of Tom Brady. This decision immediately led Brady into a brutal, gritty playoff matchup against the Oakland Raiders in the middle of a blinding snowstorm. With just under 2 minutes left in the game, the Patriots were trailing 13-10. On what was supposed to be their final drive, Brady dropped back to pass. Suddenly, Raiders cornerback Charles Woodson came screaming off the edge untouched, drilling Brady and knocking the football loose. The Raiders jumped on the fumble. The game was over. Or so everyone thought. In a moment that Raiders fans still lose sleep over to this day, the officials huddled up and invoked an obscure, highly controversial rule known as the tuck rule. They determined that because Brady's arm motion was going forward, it was technically an incomplete pass, not a fumble. It was a massive, franchise-altering gift, and Brady, possessing absolute ice in his veins, did not let it go to waste. Given a miraculous second life, he methodically marched the Patriots down the frozen field through the blizzard to kick a game-tying field goal, and then led another masterful drive in overtime to win it. From there, he marched the heavy underdog Patriots into Super Bowl 36 against the high-powered St. Louis Rams. Tied with 1:30 left on the clock and no timeouts, legendary broadcaster John Madden said on national television that the Patriots should just take a knee and play for overtime. But Brady refused to play scared. He flawlessly executed a 2-minute drill against a terrified defense, setting up a walk-off field goal by Adam Vinatieri. The 199th pick was a Super Bowl champion. Over the next few years, Brady and Belichick transformed the New England Patriots from a scrappy underdog into a terrifying dynasty, capturing back-to-back Super Bowl titles in 2003 and 2004, orchestrating a historic 2-1 game winning streak in the process. You would think securing 3 championship rings before the age of 28 would be enough to silence the critics forever. But the doubters were still incredibly loud. Analysts pointed to the Patriots' elite defenses and claimed Brady was just a passenger. They said he was just being carried by Belichick's defensive genius. So, in 2007, the Patriots decided to run an experiment. They wanted to see what would happen if they actually gave Tom Brady elite, Hall of Fame caliber weapons. They completely revamped the offense, bringing in the greatest deep threat in NFL history, Randy Moss, and an unguardable slot machine in Wes Welker. The result was absolute, unprecedented devastation. Brady shattered passing records, throwing for 50 touchdowns and leading New England to a historic 16-0 regular season. If you look at the advanced analytics of that 2007 season, it doesn't even make sense. The Patriots' offense averaged 3.37 points per drive. To put that into perspective, adjusting for the era, that efficiency rating was 3.3 standard deviations above the league average. It was a complete statistical anomaly. Brady himself posted a passing DVOA of 54.1%, a level of efficiency that completely broke the grading curve. But the fairy tale ending wasn't meant to be. In Super Bowl 42, the heavily favored Patriots ran into a defensive buzzsaw. The New York Giants dragged them into a brutal, physical slugfest. And thanks to the legendary, gravity-defying helmet catch by David Tyree, the perfect season was ruined in the final moments. Brady was absolutely determined to return the next year and finish the job, but disaster struck almost immediately. In Week 1 of the 2008 season, Brady took a brutal hit to his knee, completely tearing his ACL and MCL. He was forced to watch from the sidelines for an entire year. It was a devastating new low, and over the next decade, a very strange narrative began to form. Brady continued to put up absolutely elite numbers. He won more MVPs, and he dragged flawed rosters deep into the playoffs year after year. But the ultimate prize, the Super Bowl, kept eluding him. There was another heartbreaking Super Bowl loss to the Giants, brutal playoff defeats to the Ravens and Broncos, and constantly rotating casts of subpar receivers that forced him to carry the entire offense on his back. As he crossed into his mid-30s, the whispers started growing louder. People started asking if the magic was gone. They wondered if Tom Brady's time at the top of the mountain was finally over.
Fast life when you live in that fast city lights on the chrome reflect. Every room show respect. No small talk, just motion.
By the time the 2014 season rolled around, Brady hadn't hoisted the Lombardi Trophy in nearly a full decade. Following an absolute primetime humiliation where they were blown out 41-14 by the Kansas City Chiefs, the national media practically held a funeral for the Patriots dynasty. Analysts went on national television and boldly declared that the Patriots were weak, washed up, and simply not a good team anymore. How did Brady survive this? How is a quarterback in his late 30s able to completely reinvent himself when his peers were retiring? The answer lies in his obsessive lifestyle, famously known as the TB12 method. While other players were eating steaks and lifting heavy weights, Brady completely overhauled his biology. He adopted a strict alkaline-based diet. He drank half his body weight in ounces of water every single day. He eliminated all nightshade vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants to reduce cellular inflammation. He went to bed at 8:30 p.m. sharp. He traded traditional weightlifting for muscle pliability training using resistance bands. He essentially turned his body into a science experiment designed for one thing: sustained peak performance. And that preparation is what allowed him to flip a psychological switch in 2014. He rallied the locker room, marched straight into the AFC Championship game, and absolutely dismantled the Indianapolis Colts 45-7. But the joy of that victory was immediately overshadowed by one of the most bizarre scandals in the history of professional sports, Deflategate. The NFL launched a massive investigation, accusing Brady of tampering with the game balls to make them easier to grip. The media circus was deafening. Every news network in the country was treating Brady like a criminal. Amidst this chaotic storm of controversy, Brady stepped onto the field for Super Bowl 49 against the Seattle Seahawks' legendary Legion of Boom defense. Down by 10 points in the fourth quarter, Brady was surgical. He engineered 2 masterful touchdown drives. And after Malcolm Butler's miraculous goal line interception, Brady had finally captured his elusive 4th ring. Yet, the NFL wasn't done with him. The league ultimately suspended Brady for the first 4 games of the 2016 season. How did the greatest competitor in sports respond? By treating the suspension as a declaration of war. Brady returned to the field in Week 5 with a terrifying vengeance. He played flawlessly, marching New England straight into Super Bowl 51 against the high-flying Atlanta Falcons. And it was on this night in Houston that the legend of Tom Brady moved from greatness into pure immortality. Midway through the third quarter, the Patriots were down 28-3. The game was essentially over. Advanced analytics models gave the Falcons a 99.8% chance of winning the Super Bowl. Teams trailing by 18 points or more in the postseason historically had a record of 2 wins and 67 losses. But Brady simply refused to let his team die. Operating with what analysts called his superpower, the ability to process time and space in the pocket faster than any human alive, he meticulously picked apart the Atlanta defense. He dropped back and threw the ball an exhausting Super Bowl record 62 times. He racked up an all-time record 466 passing yards. He commanded his offense to score 31 completely unanswered points, overcoming the largest deficit in Super Bowl history, and capping it off with a game-winning touchdown drive in overtime. The greatest comeback in the history of professional sports was complete.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, baby, you'll get sick of being the monster.
By 2019, Brady had achieved godlike status in New England. He had won 2 more rings to push his total to 6. He could have easily retired as the undisputed greatest of all time. But behind the closed doors of Gillette Stadium, the legendary partnership that built the dynasty was fracturing. The tension between Brady and coach Bill Belichick had finally reached a boiling point over contract disputes, respect, and roster control. So, after 2 decades, 6 championships, and countless memories, the unthinkable happened. In the spring of 2020, At the unbelievable age of 43, Tom Brady packed his bags, left the only professional home he had ever known, and signed a contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a franchise historically known for losing. The entire sports world watched with bated breath. Was he finally going to be exposed as a system quarterback? Could a 43-year-old man survive a full NFL season without his body breaking down? Brady answered those questions instantly. But what the public didn't know at the time makes this chapter even more absurd. Brady played the entire 2020 season with a fully torn MCL in his left knee. He was literally playing professional football on a shredded ligament that required major surgery. Yet, learning a completely new playbook during a global pandemic on a bad knee, he transformed a struggling Bucs roster into an absolute powerhouse. He marched them through the gauntlet of the NFC playoffs, taking down legendary quarterbacks Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers on the road, before utterly dismantling Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 Super Bowl 55. He proved, once and for all, that he was the system. He won his 7th ring, meaning Tom Brady alone had more championships than any single NFL franchise in existence. He had beaten all 32 NFL teams. In fact, he retired as the only player in NFL history to never have a losing record against any single franchise. So, when we look back at the grand tapestry of football history, how good was Tom Brady actually? He wasn't the fastest guy on the field. He certainly didn't have the strongest arm. But none of that mattered. He revolutionized the quarterback position not with physical traits, but with his brilliant mind. He dominated a violent, chaotic game with surgical precision, an unrelenting pursuit of greatness, and a clutch gene that we will likely never see replicated. Just look at the final, impossible receipts of his football fans enough incredible memories to last several lifetimes. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, the absolute greatest to ever touch a football. If you love deep dives into the greatest stories, unheard stats, and untold legends of the sports world, you are in the right place. Don't miss out on our next massive breakdown. Hit that subscribe button and follow SFL Snap right now. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and let us know down in the comments who you want us to cover next. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a snap. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.